welcome to the curtain raiser for HerRising 2020. As many of you might know, this is going to be the 4th edition of Jobs for Her's flagship event, HerRising, for women across India who want to accelerate their careers. And what's more exciting is that thanks to the pandemic, this is going to be the first edition when HerRising becomes completely virtual. Next Saturday on September 19th is when we will be opening the doors for HerRising so that women across India will be able to start, restart, and rise in their careers with the help of so many companies who have raised their hands and partnered with us to open up job opportunities for all of you. And today at this curtain raiser, we have with us senior leaders from these companies to tell you why you need to accelerate your career and how you can do it on the basis of their own personal experiences. We have leaders from companies like Marvell, Mastercard, Northern Trust, KAS Services, One Advanced, Goldman Sachs, Amazon, PepsiCo, LogMeIn, and Indegene to be here with you and talk to you and take any questions that you might have. Let me start with introducing myself. My name is Neha Bagaria, and I'm the founder and CEO of Jobs for Her, a startup that I founded 5.5 years ago to get women to restart their careers after a break. Over time, we realized how important it was that we also figure out a way to get women to rise in their careers and rise in their careers in a myriad of different ways to the leaders that we know they can be. I'm extremely honored and delighted to welcome all the other esteemed panelists with us here today. And let's do one round of introductions so you get to know them as well. Suruchi, could you please unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
Hey, good morning all. And it's my pleasure to be part of this panel discussion. Thank you, Neha and Jobs for Her for inviting us for the curtain raiser. I'm an HR professional with 15 years of experience managing wide range of HR functions in last 15 years. In last 11 years, I'm working with Marvell and perform multifaceted roles. And last two years, I'm into talent management, leading development, employee development, part of culture builder, and cross-cultural interventions for Marvell. I'm an engineer graduate, and when I say that, I fully resonate with what Three Idiots story says, MBA karna tha, to engineering kyun? Jokes apart, I'm a technology enthusiast and a keen focus on women professional development. At Marvell India, we are driving different activities under Women Development Forum for accelerating their growth in technology as well as moving into leadership roles. I'm very passionate about this role, and I have seen my own growth and my own development that was fostered and supported by my mentors and coaches from Marvell, and definitely a great support from my family. So that brings me here, and I'm really passionate. So thanks again.
Great, thank you so much, Suruchi. It's lovely to have you here with us today. And I would request all our panelists to please introduce yourselves with your names, designations, companies, and also one reason why you are passionate about accelerating women's careers. Anjali, can we hear from you next?
Good morning, all, and thank you, Neha, for this, and thank you, Jobs for Her. So I would, so my name is Anjali Jorapur, and I am from One Advanced. I am a practice manager there. I wouldn't want to go too much into my history, but definitely one thing is very, very important for me is about this event where we are trying to accelerate the women's career. I feel that a lot of women out there are not aware about what is their real potential, what is their real capacity, what they can actually do. And I think accelerating and giving them that nudge and that push is extremely important. I love doing that, and I have been doing it as part of my team members or anyone, so, and I love really doing that. So I'm really passionate as such on that.
Great, thank you, Anjali. We can definitely hear your passion coming in through this video chat. Thank you for being here today. Meera, can we hear from you?
Sure. Thank you, Neha. Thank you for having me. My name is Meera Narayanan. I work with Amazon as Director for Regional Operations in India. I'll quickly jump on to why I'm passionate about accelerating women's careers. I personally feel very passionately about force multiplying the power of sponsorship and mentorship that I got all along my journey. And I think it's a very important ingredient for women to be successful in their careers. And because it helped me and because I work, I'm very passionate about Amazon. At Amazon, as all of you all know, we serve a very large and diverse customer base. And diversity for us is not simply about corporate social responsibility or just doing the right thing. Our work is centered around the customer and the understanding that diverse and inclusive teams and task force always produce better results and help delight our customers and make the solutions better for them. That's why I'm really passionate about making sure that women accelerate in their careers. Back to you, Neha.
Thank you so much, Meera. Thank you for joining us today. Malini?
Hello, good morning, everyone. And thanks, Neha and Jobs for her for inviting me to be part of this panel. I'm a Senior Vice President currently working at Northern Trust, and I head up operational controls and functional training. I've been with Northern Trust for close to a decade. And before that, I've been in different organizations with total work experience of over 23 years. I'm a chartered accountant. I'm very passionate about encouraging women to achieve their fullest potential and encouraging people at workplace to achieve their aspirations. I have taken a break in my career and I resumed my career. And I believe that I can help others and influence others positively if I can help them with their careers. At Northern Trust, we are very committed to driving diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we focus through the 3 themes of attracting, retaining, and developing talent. Thank you, Neha.
Fantastic, Malini. Looking forward to hearing a lot more of what you started off with. Thank you for joining us today. Nandini, can we hear from you?
Yeah, a very good morning to all the wonderful ladies in this forum. It gives me immense pleasure to be amongst all of you. Thank you very much, Neha and Jobs for her for this wonderful opportunity. I am Nandini Murthy. I am a senior engineering manager at Marvell. I am a telecom engineer with 20 plus years of experience in the tech industry across services and product organizations. It has been an enriching 20 years for me, and the latest adventure being changing jobs during the lockdown. In my managerial career, I have had opportunities to grow my team from start, inherit teams, sustain and grow them. So it's been a wonderful experience, and especially the team at Marvell and the leadership has been so warm and welcome that even during these lockdown period, I feel already at home in about just around 6 months. So I'm really looking forward to sharing my experience to all of you and helping you there. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Nandini, for joining us. And now we move to our one brave man on this panel and someone who's absolutely exemplifying the he for her. Vineet, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure, Neha, thank you. My name is Vineet. I head up data and analytics for Kmart Australia. For those of you who do not know Kmart Australia, we're basically an Australian-based chain of retail stores owned by the iconic Wesfarmers group. We have a fully integrated GCC cash services at Bangalore, which is at the heart of delivering our strategy. I'm very proud today to represent Kmart, where we've always believed in diversity on the team and assisting women team members to excel in their career. Personally, though I'm in minority and a bit nervous, but I think it's a topic very close to my heart. Having a better half who's always had a career, and the kind of adjustments she's made, in our lives to be able to excel at work and at home. And then I have some great team members women team members on my team. So diversity and women in technology and leadership's a topic always closer to my heart. Thank you for having me here today.
Fantastic, and welcome, Vineet. Thank you for joining us. Archana, can we hear from you, please?
Sure. Thank you, Neha. I'm Archana Tayade. It's a pleasure to meet all of you and be here today. I am Archana Tayade, Managing Director with Goldman Sachs. I am responsible for teams within the Corporate and Workplace Solutions Division in Bengaluru. I'm a cost accountant by profession and I've been with Goldman Sachs for 17 plus years with a total work experience of more than 20 years. I started out with Goldman Sachs way back in December of 2003 as a founding member of their Bengaluru office right after coming back from a career break, which kind of enforces the firm's focus on equal opportunities and focus on having diverse teams, which is the reason why they got a woman coming after a break join as their founding team members. That's where my journey started, and I'm very passionate and have been involved in helping women drive and accelerate their career, sharing my own experience as well as leading and sponsoring a variety of corporate programs focused on women development, which we will touch upon during the course of today's discussion. I credit my own leadership success and acceleration to the firm's focus on equal opportunities and the support system that I've had, which is family as well as my managers, the leadership teams, and Goldman's culture of meritocracy, without which I couldn't have been who I am today. I mean, you can have all the support systems in the world, but until we women are excellent at what we are tasked with, what our focuses are, and our willingness to take risk and adapt to situations as we go, we cannot accelerate in our careers. So that's been my focus in sharing, and I'm excited to be here. I think this is more relevant now in this COVID world and post-COVID world, where key part of being successful is being comfortable, not knowing what's going to happen, and to be able to take those risks and move forward. So looking forward to the discussion today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Archana. That's a pretty good mantra for life that COVID has definitely taught us. Yeah. Thank you for being here. Sonali, can we have your introduction?
Hello, everyone. A very good morning to everyone there. I'm Sonali Mungale. I'm a part of the fantastic organization Mastercard, who has been demonstrating thought leadership and a lot of good initiatives around diversity and inclusion. We are one of the, I must say, the most progressive organizations when it comes to D&I. Why it is important for me to, look at accelerating women professionals. I feel that there is a whole lot of talent which is already available, and women at times really are, they feel they are unable to challenge their own selves or limit themselves, and it's important to bring those strengths in the organization, and which means that we need to open up the entire world of opportunities to them. I personally feel that being a working woman professional, this amplification is something which I must do. It's my responsibility towards the organization and towards the world out there. That's one of the reasons why I feel it's important to accelerate the women professionals, bringing it back in the organization.
Fantastic, Sonali. Thank you so much for being here today. Avantika?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Avantika. I lead HR for PepsiCo's Global Business Services based out of Hyderabad. I've been in the company for 7 years now. I feel very passionately about diversity and inclusion, especially gender diversity, for two reasons. One is, of course, a business reason. PepsiCo's vision is to create more smiles with every sip and every bite. 50% of our consumers are women. A much larger share of the buyers or shoppers are women, and therefore really having women on board, and I heard the lady from Amazon also mention this, is really critical and key to our business success. I think the other one is personal, and really being a woman, being someone who's played the balancing act of initially just being very successful in the workplace and almost being equal to everyone else there, to then getting married, being a mother of two, balancing out work and life, and also staying focused on my career. I've been through the journey of restarting it as well, because I took a brief break. And therefore, having seen that journey, it's really taught me a lot, and I really want to play that forward in my role and in my capacity currently. Back to you, Neha.
Great. Thank you so much, Avantika. I totally agree. When you actually go through it yourself, that's when you understand what are all the challenges that lie behind the screen. Thank you for being with us today. Arathi, can we get your introduction?
Hi, good morning. This is Arathi. I'm Senior Manager HR in Indegene. I bring in about 15 years experience with the talent management space, and of which last 10 years has been very passionately associated with diversity. I worked on designing, developing frameworks, looked at how is women's career life cycle journey spans out. What are some of the interventions that we can actually plug and bring in, because all of us understand and know that women go through these life-changing events. So what are the specific things that we can really internalize into the organization, bring the entire leadership, into the picture, and help women continue their, professional journey, while they embrace those changes that happen to them, has been my strength all through and wherever I've been implementing that. Talking about Indegene, I think there is no set target that our leadership has actually given us, saying that this is the percentage women employees we need to have. But I'm so glad and proud to say that without a target back of our mind, but today we stand at 43% gender ratio. There are roles that have already been carved out in the organization that wherein we are exploring, 100% remote working. Post-COVID era, we're going to see a lot of interesting dynamics around roles that can definitely be carved out for women employees, to take care of them. So that's about me and Indegene. Thank you so much, and so glad to be part of this forum today.
Thank you so much, Arathi, for joining us today. I also want Sripriya to introduce herself, and before she does, I must give a special thanks to LogMeIn for being our partners to bring you this curtain raiser on this platform for all of you today. So Sripriya, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everybody. I would like to start off by congratulating Jobs for Her on the success the team has had in setting a career platform for women, right? It's a pretty big thing, and I just feel really good even watching this, and I'm so happy that I'm able to be a part of this panel. And LogMeIn is very proud to be a sponsor for this event, the curtain raiser for the upcoming virtual career fair, which is the HerRising by Jobs for Her. And I think it's great to be a part of such a beautiful concept is what I would say. And myself, about me, I'm Sripriya, a principal technical architect with LogMeIn. If you've not heard about LogMeIn, LogMeIn is a technology company that is solving for what is currently happening around the pandemic. We are into the business of building solutions that is close to working from anywhere and any place, right? And why am I passionate about accelerating women's career? So based on my own career, right, I've been with this current organization for 15 years and have had a great opportunity to play multiple roles, be it technology, like deep technology, or people management, building larger teams, and looking at how I have been groomed, thrown with challenges, and failed and raised. I believe this, I strongly believe that women have a lot in them to offer for this emerging technology space and across industries, right? Fostering an environment that caters for diversity need and also prioritizing inclusion goals is something that's very close to my heart. And we all know that women can make a big difference in a larger ecosystem. So that brings me around this concept. And once again, thank you for the opportunity. And I'm very happy to be a part of this.
Thank you so much, Sripriya. Thank you so much for joining us today. And last but not the least, it would be great to have Sonali also introduce herself. As all of you know, Sonali is often my co-moderator, and she will be keeping track of any of your questions that come in live on the Facebook Live. Sonali, all yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's so amazing to see these rising women leaders, or already risen, I think, and this very, very awesome he for her man on this panel. On this womanal. Thank you for being with us today. I'm Sonali Rebello. I'm the keeper of the key, as you see in my title, and that is the Her Key Club's key. The Her Key Club is a club that Jobs for Her founded in January this year. We launched it, and it was launched because we saw the need to create a space for women that were rising across India and the world to come together to role model for each other. Because the one thing they said they were not able to see around them was other women like them, whether it was at work or at home in their families. And while they love both, they would really like to be in the company of what is possible for them. So inside the HerKey Club, we have them meeting and learning from other women in power and from each other. And we do that through workshops, masterclasses, and live conversations with women already in power across India and across the world. I've been working for about 17 years now, thanks to having studied in the US, so I could work while I studied there. And I'm a creative writing and women's studies major, so Jobs for Her, as being part of the founding team, was the perfect marriage of my capitalist mind and socialist heart, to bring women back to work, to help them rise at work, and to make sure that they reclaim and stay in the place they were meant to always have. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Sonali, for joining us. All right, thank you very much, everyone, for those introductions. We can definitely feel the power of this panel and the kind of passion as well as deep experience that all of you bring to the table. So let's get started on the discussion. I think the first question that I would love to ask some of the members of the panel is why you feel that it is extremely important that we increase women participation, especially given this post-COVID era that we are going to be living in. Sonali, can we hear from you first?
Absolutely, yes. Well, I think there's a lot spoken about the COVID, how it has, turned the world upside down. What was something very normal few months back is not really normal now. This certainly calls for organizations, businesses, and individuals like us to think differently, right? And also to look at how we can beat this entire change which has turned the world upside down. Now, diversity is something which facilitates bringing in innovation. Diversity, which includes gender, is certainly going to bring in a different pattern of thinking, right? It's going to help the organizations, bring the teams, look at innovation, look at basically bringing in solutions, and also challenge the status quo for that matter. So I think that is one of the reasons why I personally feel that diversity is now more important than ever, right? And hence bringing in gender, women workforce back in the organization, talking about bringing in, facilitating innovation is something which is very, very important and critical now. That's what my perspective is, to be very honest. Yeah.
Fantastic, Sonali. I hope we see that happening more and more in the times to come. Meera, would you like to add something to that?
Yeah, sure. I actually think the pandemic has made us privy to several harsh realities, if you like. Whilst some of us may still be lucky to be holding on to our jobs, the reality is that tens and thousands have been laid off by several organizations. And I do feel like women have particularly been impacted disproportionately. And several researchers have emerged in the past couple of months around this, and I'm going to quote just a couple of them just to get to the data of it. A research by McKinsey actually highlights that women's jobs are 1.8 times more vulnerable to this crisis than men's jobs. Women make up for 39% of global employment, but account for 54% of overall job losses. So the magnitude of the inequality is striking. The second one was McKinsey's analysis shows that female jobs are 19% more at risk than male jobs, simply because women are disproportionately represented in sectors negatively affected by COVID. It is estimated that 4.5% of women's employment is at risk in the pandemic globally, compared to 3.8% of men's employment. These are just some of the studies, but like I said, every organization actually benefits and thrives by prioritizing equality, culture, and development and retention mechanisms, right? By attracting the best builders and talent of all backgrounds, which includes gender balanced workforce. That's my thought around this, Neha. Back to you.
So I guess, Meera, that means the situation is getting worse. So we better stop it from getting so bad and make sure that we can correct this misbalance during this time. Thank you. Avantika, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think as we see a crisis that has impacted all cohorts in the organization and impacted them both emotionally as well as in the way of working, This is a huge opportunity, and one of the only opportunities I feel where we get to tap on a latent demographic, where they had certain challenges around coming into the office. Some of them could not, return back to work, etc. But now, given that most companies have adjusted to virtual ways of working, many companies are now looking at this as a way of life going forward. Even when the post-COVID era hits us, most companies are saying we don't need to be 100% physically in the office anymore. Different companies are taking different stands. Some are more aggressive, some are less aggressive, but then that makes all companies more open to flexibility, more open to the idea of teams have adopting different ways of working, and that then makes it more convenient for some some sections of female population that we've not been able to tap into earlier. So I think it's a massive opportunity. And many organizations like ourselves are really looking at it as a chance to really do right, both from a business standpoint by increasing inclusion and diversity at the workplace, as well as from a social standpoint, from creating a more equal workplace than it was before.
Fantastic. And I think the marriage of both is actually perfect. And that's what will help our economy going forward. Vineet, would you agree with that? What are your thoughts on this?
Absolutely. I think so Neha, I will probably break this question into two parts, because I think, given where we are as cash services, still setting up and growing as an organization, and then I think there's this lens of COVID and post-COVID era. Probably, I think the first one for us, I think women's participation is very important, and we're trying to make sure as we set out, we have the right balance. Primarily because I think we've seen that teams which are diverse have had more success as a team. I think Meera pointed out in the beginning that for us, it makes complete business sense. I mean, you can't be having a discussion about colors in apparel without having a woman on the table. Imagine men, a meeting full room of men just discussing colors and cosmetics. So I think for us, it makes complete sense to have diverse team which have women from a business sense. Also, we found the teams bond and do better even emotionally when we have a gender diverse team. Again, I don't know if you guys have observed or girls have observed, what is the empathy quotient or, the level of emotional quotient on an all men's team. It's very different, probably having worked on both. So I think there's complete sense for us to I think we've always focused on women's participation. We will continue during the COVID to focus on it. And I think even after COVID, I think during COVID, what's important again, I think is, COVID's probably disrupted our day-to-day life as men and women. I can tell you again from my own personal story at home at the start of the COVID with school education at home. My wife, was very close to calling it quits. She actually went back and got she's at Accenture, and she went and, got a flexible working environment which could help her. So I think it's important, and that's what we believe at Cash Services. We're keeping a very tight eye on who needs support in our current ecosystem from during the COVID perspective. There's, of course, expected job losses with the economy. So it gets harder for women who are returning back to work in general to find a job. So I think that's another area why we should continue to look out and help those who are in need. The good thing about COVID, though, I feel is I think the work from home is being tested more and more and is being accepted more and more. So I think that's actually a silver lining to the cloud in terms of that helps women who need flexibility to work from home. So those are, I think, my thoughts, and I think how we're looking at cash services in terms of improving women participation and looking after them during this COVID period.
Great, fantastic, Vineet, and that's great to hear about the kind of shift in attitudes and mindsets that's happening during this COVID time to ensure that every employee is productive. Before we move on to the next question, I would love to get Suruchi's thoughts also on this question. Suruchi, what do you feel?
Thank you. I think what Meera mentioned is very important, that what the dynamics are playing and how we want to work on that. The perspective that I would like to bring here is about why women. And the HBR recent research shows that there are like 6 times lower death rates in the countries where the leadership is managed by women as compared to the men. the traits that they bring into the this world is pragmatism, prowess, and the humanity. So we need to look at how we can capture those and foster that culture in the organization to move ahead post-COVID. And I would like to share here a small story which happened in my organization, Marvell, when we launched Women at Marvell India program. My country head, Mr. Pradeep Thakir, he launched it with a small story about jungles in Africa and how the oldest and largest female elephant, the mature, leads her herd and take care of all the members of the herd and ensures that they reach to the water that they are looking for in the summer, the heat of the scorching heat of the summer. And that could resonate with the current situation where we are saying that what are the positive outcomes that we can look at and how we can promote women leadership in this way. And the answer is definitely yes, we can, because there are traits that women has developed culturally as well as naturally in them. Like Vineet mentioned that the first thing that they know that how to solve problems, and they bring the cognitive difference in finding out those answers and solve those problems. They have naturally grown the empathy that we have, which we can ensure that we can relate to the others. And it's not just the women employees, but the men that they are, their best counterparts are also working and how we can support them in this situation and how we can bring the balance. And that's what we are trying to do at Marvell, where we want to focus on meritocracy, but at the same time provide an equal playing field for all of us at all levels. Fantastic. And that's where I see women, how women will thrive in post-COVID area.
Super, more power to that. And I love the example of the female elephant. And I really hope that, you know, women and men working alongside them will be able to take us through the scorching heat of COVID very, very soon. Great. So I would love to move to the next question then that I have for the panel. That given that, you know, we are all in agreement that we need more women participation as well as more higher women performance in the Indian workforce, what do you feel is a really big barrier that is coming up today in terms of women's career success? And I would love to hear from your own personal experiences as well on, you know, where you felt those barriers lay. Malini, is it possible to start with you first?
Yeah, thanks, Neha. I want to touch upon, you know, the question around the barriers first, and then, you know, kind of talk about my own experience about taking a break from career. So if we can broadly look at, you know, the support system, both at home and office, I would start from home. We talked about, you know, so one of the barriers in women, you know, accelerating their career or resuming their work after a break could be lack of support at home, right? Even today in the COVID situation that we talk about, we say that work from home is here to stay. And that provides flexibility in a lot of cases. However, the other part of work from home is, you know, this expectation about, you know, women being the primary or sole nurturer and caregiver. How does a woman then balance between, you know, that expectation and the expectation at work? It's a very important point that we need to keep in mind. I mean, how do we listen to women, you know, about what they need during a work from home situation, right? That in itself does not provide the flexibility. And, you know, when we talk about some of these barriers, you know, we hear that, you know, women are a little hesitant to ask for or advocate for themselves on what they need, right? And that's where, you know, empathetic managers or peers or a ecosystem in office can come into play. So at work, it is, you know, the barriers, if I look at the barriers, it's lack of enabling policies. It's one thing to, you know, bring women in and offer leadership positions, but what are those enabling policies which can help sustain and make a woman successful in that role? So that's one point that I would think about. And I also feel that's important to have enough role models, you know, both at work or around, And, that's where, events like these, HerRising and Jobs for Her can play, right? Bring in those role models. They need to be accessible and approachable for women who need that help, right? So that's the other part that I would think about, from barriers to work. Then we talk about some of these stereotypical notions about the suitability to leadership positions. Can she do it, right? Combined with, oh my God, can I do it as a woman, right? This is where we think about, how a man applies for a role when he's almost 60% there, where as a woman is berating herself because she's only 97% and not 100%, ready for that role. So it's around those. And of course, things are changing, but, exclusion from informal networking, right? I mean, we have come a long way from, these golf tournaments and, these smoking breaks. I mean, no offense to smoking from a gender perspective, but so some of these have been typically barriers in women moving ahead with their careers. Now, people who take a break, so I took a break from work after working for about a decade. Okay, I took close to 3 years of career break, but then I was very sure that I wanted to come back to work. It was supposed to be a temporary break. So I stayed with that thought throughout. And I started thinking, I mean, of course, I enjoyed my break, which is why I took a break. And I really enjoyed it. It was very liberating initially. But after, about 6 months or so, I started thinking that, okay, I have, promised myself that I will get back to work. What do I need to, how do I create that roadmap for me up until the point that I can find something where I can go back to work? And, that thought process actually stayed with me in, building up a story. And I know that we will talk about it later, but I wanted to, focus a little bit on building up a story about what I'm doing during the break at work, right? The other bit was ensuring that I stay connected with my professional network. So those two, helped me navigate through that break, which I had promised myself was only temporary. And that determination actually helped me get back to work. But yeah, I mean, these are some of the things that come to mind when I think about barriers to work. And this is exactly where, women can step in and help others. I heard some, points, brilliant points about, force multiplying and, ensuring that we create that network for other women to be successful. And I think this is, I really am passionate about, women helping other women. I think we can make a huge difference.
Thank you. Yes, Malini, I think the days are over when we lie in wait for the knight in shining armor. We become our own knights in shining armor and each other's. So thank you for that. I know that we also have one more fantastic returnee story on this panel where Archana was the first returnee at Goldman Sachs much before Goldman Sachs launched the returnship program. Archana, can you tell us a little bit about how that experience was for you and what you have seen as a big barrier for women's success?
Thanks, Neha. Yes, I think Malini touched upon all the relevant points. But yeah, to your point, Goldman's commitment to creating and sustaining a diverse work environment was evident to me from day one. The fact that I got picked up as a founding team member who was on a break, and I was in the break in the late 90s, early 2000 when most MNCs were coming to India, and you would have thought they would pick people as founding team members with relevant experience, etc. And they kind of picked someone or trusted because they believed, I think it's in the DNA of the firm to look for creating diverse teams and have diverse perspectives. And that kind of, was my first sort of exposure or experience into, the firm's culture one-on-one. Also, over the years, obviously, there's a lot of programs now out there to bring women back to work and tap into this talent pool. And the firm definitely believes that we must attract, retain, and develop, and diversity is not an option. It's what we must do, and our workforce needs to represent the communities and the culture in which we work, right? But there are this culture and the environment and society from which we are trying to bring our workforce has inherent sort of, over decades and generations, there are stereotypes that are established. And these by itself expose or are the barriers. Like for a man, his identity is kind of is based on, how successful he is in his careers, while a woman's identity or a measure of her life success is basically reflection of the nurturing environment she's created at home. You cannot a successful woman at the cost of a nurturing environment is not necessarily regarded highly in the society. So these are barriers out there which are slowly changing as women are participating. Women's participation in economic activities is increasing. The society is gradually changing, and companies like ours play a huge role in helping women through this transition and providing that ecosystem or support system at workplace, so they are able to integrate work and life in a way that they are successful at home as well as they are successful at workplace as well, by creating all these programs and the opportunities that Malini talked about. The lack of networks, the lack of advocacy at work. Our own inhibitions about women have a lot of self-doubt, especially Malini, I'm sure, can resonate with this. Women, after you come back from a break and are successful at work, you are not sure about, whether you can do it or whether you're going to miss out on the couple of years you have spent time raising a family and taking that break, and now going back to work, are you going to lose out on what you have established at home? So you have to keep balancing, and there's a lot of women themselves sometimes create a very high bar for themselves to be successful, to be top class at work and top class at home, and there is no such thing at having it all the time. There are some bad days and some good days, and you got to be living with that, and it takes kind of reinforcement, which is why the points made earlier, women need to have a strong network amongst ourselves, so we can bounce ideas and make sure that we are able to get through these mental barriers that we have created for ourselves. The organizations, as all large organizations represent here, have some aspirational goals. We at Goldman Sachs have a lot of aspirational goals for ourselves. We expect 50% of our basically gender diversity, global talent over a period of time, 50% at entry levels, 40% of vice presidents, women by 2025. So there has to be intentional work done to make sure that we are able to reach those targets. And that while the policies are in place, there's a lot that women also need to do in order to accelerate their program. And I think it is both ways. Society plays a role, corporates plays a role, and women themselves have to take on the challenge.
Absolutely. Thank you, Archana. That was actually very comprehensive, and all of these puzzle pieces need to come together if you want to remove these barriers. Anjali, would you agree as well?
Absolutely, yeah. So I have a couple of other thoughts, as I feel the barrier majorly is the guilt which we live with. So when you're managing both, am I taking care of my home well? Am I taking care of my work well? So that guilt, or when you go back to work, you would still continue to live in that guilt. I think that's something which we have to get rid of. And self-confidence is something which people have to develop. If you have taken a break, that doesn't mean you have lost your knowledge or anything. Yeah, but to keep yourself, you have to keep when you want to bring back yourself, I would say you have to restart by making a plan, making a career path, and keeping yourself with the technology and whatever field you are in. Keep learning, keep certifying. I feel, yeah, I have taken a break almost like 4 years, but yes, the only thing during the 4 years, it was not just a break. So I was definitely learning a lot of things. And that itself helped me to get back into my job, And so that was I would say, whether you take a break or not, learning need not stop. So that's important, I feel. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So,
And sometimes we forget that. We forget how important it is to continue learning, upskilling ourselves, especially in this fast changing environment.
Yeah.
Sripriya, would you like to add something to that? You're on mute.
So just to add on to the point that Anjali mentioned, right, and almost everybody talked about it, we bring our strength to juggle multiple priorities to support everybody around us, whether it is work or whether it is our personal life, and we are pretty good at that, right? But the one thing that we forget is to prioritize for our own self-development. It is super important to reskill venture domains so that there can be the risk-taking skill that we can build and also add to education profile, right? When I did my little extended courses, there's very less women participation that I see when it is that, right? Education, adding to that. And somebody said here, right, asking for help. It is important to take the help or ask for help in our ecosystem and see how we can add to our own profile, right? That is something I think we have to pay attention to. It is very important, right? That's the point I wanted to raise.
Fantastic. So invest in yourself and also invest in your network around you.
Yes.
So that they can support you through this journey.
Yes.
And that actually brings me to my next question, which is, what was a critical turning point in your own career that helped you to accelerate your career and, which other women can gain learnings from? Nandini, would you like to share on that?
Yeah, definitely, Neha. So within the career and before I started my career, there were a couple of turning points which was very important for me. So as soon as I finished my engineering, in the first couple of interviews, I landed up a good job. I was very happy for myself. And I recall one of this close relative of mine said, women can be good and successful only as lecturers or teachers or secretaries or assistants. Tech field is definitely not for you and you're doomed. You will not succeed in this. Okay, this is what got the fire in my belly burning. I mean, I started out saying I have to prove to the world that I can be successful. And while I started out putting extra effort, it was just initially to prove somebody else wrong. But then I realized I liked the journey. I really liked the work I was doing. So I then started putting extra effort to achieve the goals of my own dreams. And when I started my career, there were a lot of women leaders who were talking about their challenges, where some of them were the first female engineering students or the first female employees in an organization. The challenges, many challenges were like there were not even restrooms for women in that environment. But the challenges we face are different. Like I did not have difficulties either getting into a professional institution or getting my first job. But when the challenge came, when I was actually trying to sustain and grow, and when I was having the same dream as my male colleagues had, and then when I realized that they were getting more recognized than me, I was putting the same amount of effort and I was not getting there. The first on-site opportunity I missed, and I was told, because you are a girl, probably you will not be able to manage going out of the country. I mean, that is where it told me, now no, I have to learn to go and ask for what I want, what I actually really deserve. And unless I do that, people are not just sitting there to notice me and help me grow. So that was very critical for me to recognize that, because until then I thought I should just sincerely put my effort in. There are people up there who are going to notice what I have done and help me grow. So learning to change gears was the biggest change for me in my career.
Thank you. That's an extremely important lesson, something that I'm going to remember also. Many times, we feel like you do the work and that's enough. Yeah. And others will just notice it. But sometimes you have to be your ambassador first. Then others can be your ambassador. Thank you so much. Arathi, what about you? Did you have a very critical turning point in your career that really helped you to get to where you are today?
Hi, Neha. So I did, I think, like many of us has, I also had multiple turning points, but I think I would like to reflect on what transpired or, what really helped me to, navigate those turning points, right? And when I reflect back today, I contributed to 3 C's. C1 for clarity, clarity in thought process. Another C stands for collaboration, and the third C stands for communication. So I always went after, whether it is my engineering and masters and then organizations, I always reflected on thinking, where do I want to go? Even today, I go back and question which organization do I want to go after? What are the projects I want to pick it up? And why do I want to work on so and so? So I always take a step back, think through what I want and then move forward. So that is something which has helped me a lot. Second C, which is collaboration. One, maybe naturally all women are, tend to collaborate. It just comes naturally to us, to, get everybody together, work on a task or do something. I played on that strength. So, and being part of the HR team, every day is a new story. Every day is a new challenge. There are difficult conversations that we need to go back and do. I realized that 1% cannot really, solve an issue. So I fall back on my managers, delivery leadership team, whosoever possible to address that scenario for me. So collaboration is something I looked at. Third, communication. And I would like to take just about 30 seconds to elaborate more. I remember when I finished my engineering and my dad had this, one-on-one conversation with me and said, now is the time and we want to go after, look for guys for you. I said, Dad, give me 2 years, just 2 years. Let me do my master's and then, I'm all yours and you do what you want. After 2 years, I went back again. They told him, give me 2 more years. So I did that with my family, continued to build with I also did that with my boss. I remember in my company when I went on maternity, I went back to my manager and said, I know I will not be able to do this role. Can you give me an IC role, which is an individual contributor role with the same magnitude? There is no lesser quantity or quality that has been diminished. Possibly the quantum which came up to me was multitude because I had to work with, senior leadership and MD of the organization. But the key is communication. So whatever came my way, I ensured that I followed, reflecting on these threes and do that. So that's a takeaway from mine.
Fantastic, Arathi. I'll definitely try to remove that. I'll definitely try to remind myself of that also. The 3 C's keep going forward. Sonali, would you like to add something?
Hi. Yeah, I think it's a very important question. It's very important to share my own learnings and experiences on this. I'll just take maximum, 1 minute to share. I think my turning points are like those mother pearls in your necklace, right? And this is what I reflect now today at this point of my juncture. Now, these 2 mother pearls were something which started at my personal life, that's family first, and the second is my professional life, that's my organization. My personal life. So when I started off, and I was just a fresher for that matter, coming from a small town city, my parents certainly had a hesitance of sending me out of the city to work. And that's where one of my, rather my brother pushed me and said, no, go and explore the world. You should work. You should go and stand on your feet. I think that was the push which was needed at that point of time for me to really start flying. That was one of the key turning points for me. And there's no looking back after that. I think the second turning point, and which is also a very important point when you land up in a professional life, is the leaders you work with, right? How the leaders really let you experiment and let you try new things, let you be bold. Many times we women generally feel insecure when we want to raise our hand or we want to experiment with something new. However, when your leaders let you experience a positive failure and say that no, go and try, there's nothing wrong in failing, I think that helps you open your wings. My current organization lets me do that. Lets me open my wing and allows me to really experiment with newer things. And I think that is something which is one of the most positive experiences and turning points in my life, which is important for each one of us to really rise and shine. And I think that's what I wanted to really bring it on a table here.
Fantastic, Sonali, and thank you for adding that, because that actually takes me very neatly to my next question, which is more from a company standpoint. Yeah, I can see we have such amazing industry leaders from top companies across India today. what do you feel? How do you feel a company can really help in terms of accelerating women's careers? Through what kind of initiatives, policies, programs, mindsets, culture can we partner with companies to take this forward? Avantika, I see you're ready to take this question head first.
Yeah, no, thank you, Neha. Yeah, and I think it's such an important question, and I would really break it down into two sections. There's one part of it which is really foundational. What are some of the policies that you need to have, more women in the workforce, women at various levels in the workforce, etc. And most of us know, most of this is quite intuitive. You need to have the right policies in terms of, what kind of medical benefits you extend, especially during maternity, what kind of, leave you have, what kind of flexibility policies you have, what kind of return back from maternity policies you have, so that they get meaty roles, and yet you're not going to put them in a situation where they're not being able to balance, a certain life stage. So those are some of those policies where we've, as PepsiCo, put in so much of effort. Also in terms of internal job postings, especially when someone goes on maternity, what happens to that role, and how do you make the lady feel very, very secure that she's going to have a meaty role even when she comes back? You don't take an assumption for the lady that she's going to come back, she won't be able to manage this. That's a decision she needs to take, not a decision we need to take for her. And so how do you keep those lines of communication open? So I think the whole policy segment is one part of it. The other is process. Now we have so many processes around, promotions, around talent development, around performance management. And how do you really put a structure to it and keep testing yourself to say, am I being fair? If I'm promoting X percentage of the men, am I disproportionately, disadvantaging the women, or am I being fair on that? Similarly, if I have so many highly rated men as a percentage, then do I have an equal, number of women who are going to be, in that situation? When I'm planning for succession, are women getting the same opportunities or not? When I plan for development, am I, nominating the same percentage of women as I am as men for accelerated development programs? So that's, these are all policies, process, these are all frameworks that I think work very well in PepsiCo, and I'm sure many, leading organizations are already doing, some of these actions. And then the second, I think more is around cultural and the development aspects, which are much more intentional. You really have to put effort behind it. Those will not happen on autopilot. They are not processes, that are naturally part of your framework. So the first part on the cultural, element, which is really, are you creating an inclusive environment, and are you being intentional about that? So for example, something that I'm very, very proud of in PepsiCo is we have this program, of course, an unconscious bias, which is to give people the tools and the training to understand, but also we have a specific program called Men Who Win. And WIN is our Women's Inclusion Network. And Men Who Win is really the men who come out and support that actively. And we talk about it in our leadership forums. We have people come forward, in support. And then the more you talk about these issues, that responsibility sort of starts becoming coming naturally to our male leaders. That yes, I need to take make time, especially for the women on my team, to make sure that I'm grooming them as much as I'm grooming, the men, and I'm also creating the right environment. And finally, I think around development. While we have, a strong focus on making sure that an equal number of men and women, or equal percentage of men and women, are getting nominated for various programs, I think the other aspect of it is, what are we doing specifically for the women? And I refer to Men Who Win. We have a women's inclusion network, which is very, which is exclusive. And frankly, our men are quite jealous at times about what's happening there that we're missing out on, which I think is a good thing for now. But that's really a place where women get an opportunity to network, as well as learn, from other women, either external or internal within PepsiCo, leaders who come and talk about various aspects of development that are so important for women. Things like negotiating skills, things like how to have a difficult conversation, how to how to elevate yourself for your executive presence, and some of these areas which are commonly known as areas where women don't naturally excel. or like to take a back seat. So that's, another aspect, I think, specifically to development. And on mentorship within, as a subset of development, we have a program globally in PepsiCo where we nominate a certain percentage of our budding women leaders, where global leaders, female role models, mentor them over a period of time on specific areas. So these are things I'm really proud of. And I think companies that can really put the right intention and the right effort behind inclusion and diversity for women, they can really make a powerful impact both within the organization as well as in society.
Wow, that's fantastic, Avantika. That sounds like a lot of different initiatives that PepsiCo is spearheading. I really hope that you all will see huge returns of that, which I think we'll be able to see more from an economy point of view as well. So kudos to that. Vineet, would you like to go next?
Sure, Neha, it's a hard act to go after Avantika. Great points, and I think she probably summarized a lot of the strategy in a very crisp way. Very similar, I think, just being again very reflective of where we are as a growing organization, a very new organization. We've got a two-prong approach. One in terms of building pipeline, one is acquiring talent, right? And when we acquired, in terms of acquiring talent, looking at that lens in terms of hiring the right women team members or strong women candidates. So we've set a goal of around 40% of women team members in tech, digital, and analytics. So really, skills where we've struggled in the past. So it's a goal that we're very passionate about. In terms of working on it, I think referrals, word of mouth through women employees work great. I think there's no better there's no better way than your current team members looking after and seeing other referrals they can bring from their own social networks, women networks. Events like Job for Her, that's another place that we're trying to reach out and see how we can acquire the best talent in the market. Look for women women candidates who are coming back from a break and how we can support and ease them in from a career back, help them to get a career started back. The other lens is, I think, retain and retain and develop the existing pool that we have. Sometimes we forget that it's more important to focus on that as well. So from that perspective, we look at training programs and development forums that are aimed at our women team members. Avantika touched upon a very critical one, which is this culture bit, education for men line managers or in general. I think that's the harder one, where there's no silver bullet, and I think it happens over a period of time. You need a very strong network of coaches, mentors. I think like this panel where you can see the experiences would not just shape women leaders in the organization, but also in general kind of improve the culture, help understand what could be the areas of challenge. So we believe in a lot in coaching and mentoring and having those networks connected back to Australia. We have some great women leaders, including my boss, the chief financial officer for the company, the women leader. How can she help and coach, mentor? So we make sure the role models, this connection to them, asking the right questions. I think that's subtle. But sometimes when you see the list of promotions, when you see the list of reward nominees, just asking that question, looking after a few people, women team members, and saying, okay, I'm not seeing a nomination there. Tell me a bit more about it. So I think those subtle questions go a long way in making sure that we're looking after women team members as well, and then support. I think policies and support. For example, we're looking at extended maternity support. Like I said earlier, support during COVID. So I think just being conscious of different challenges that women team members and leaders could be going through, and providing that support is very critical to again retain and develop.
Great, fantastic, Vineet. I'm confident that these kind of initiatives, you will definitely reach your goals of ensuring you hit those 40% numbers at recruitment at all stages. Yeah, and looking forward to having you at the HerRising event where you can meet many of these candidates as well.
Thank you. I'm going to drop off, so thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure and a learning experience, and we're really excited to be on the rest of the event as well. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you. Meera, would you like to go? I know that Amazon is also looking at a lot of different initiatives when it comes to increasing women participation performance. Could you elaborate on that?
Yes, for sure. I think Avantika and Vineet just touched on just the right things. And similar to that, I think at Amazon, We are equally focused internally and externally, but I'll take the internal piece first and then move on to the external one. There are just a couple of things internally that we do. First one is it's important to have a long-term view. So we need to build programs and structure our policies around those programs which fit in organically into the system. And that's what we do. As an example, at Amazon at the hiring stage, I'm sure a lot of us know that we have a very robust mechanism to eliminate any unconscious bias from the process. Our interviewing process is completely based on leadership principles, and it's very well known and people are aware of it. And we have a bar raiser program that ensures that there is no subjectivity for any potential candidate in the process. And every candidate, him or her will have an inclusive experience. And that happens to everyone, not just women, but that's the overall process that we have. The second one, I think, is around commitment and ownership that we need to demonstrate at all levels in the organization and at all stages. And I think we do that very well at Amazon. The best way with which we do this is by building scalable mechanisms and goals. One team or a particular team can never be able to commit to build diversity all by themselves. It needs to be stitched in the DNA of the organization and bringing overall the entire process to life and living and breathing it, right? So it's important to identify, build and measure mechanisms, which we do well. And as it aligns to the vision of the organization, we grow the diversity of our leaders and create a culture of inclusion. The example here is we have built input goals around globally around women on-site representation, women inclusive interview loop, quarterly campaigns to promote inclusion by building awareness and encouraging participation with local affinity groups everywhere, and covering trainings like unconscious bias, launch of inclusion training, etc. In all our processes, be it talent reviews or performance management, mechanisms have been built in to ensure we have delivered on the output of being inclusive and unbiased in our approach. And I do think we've been running this pretty successfully because it's a scalable mechanism. The third one internally is, and I think Avantika touched on this, and it was a great point made, because I think mentorship and sponsorship is extremely critical. And an example from an Amazon standpoint is Rekindle is a very successful program that we have been running to provide a launch pad to women who have taken a break in their career due to any circumstances. Through this initiative, we aim to provide opportunities and mentorship that women require to professionally reintegrate and thus resume their corporate career. I'm sure we've all been privy to this, that statistics indicate that women are apprehensive about resuming their careers post taking a break due to the diminished level of confidence on their skill sets, and because they need more flexibility around the rejoining piece. Now, Rekindle is again a program that provides a very clear opportunity to apply for them. It provides a structured orientation program to relaunch their careers. We also provide learning opportunities to integrate through enriching work profile, knowledge resources, support circles, mentors, etc. And we also have jobs across multiple domains, cities, and flexibility that we are able to provide as needed for various diverse work groups. Now, that was around internal. I'll just take probably 40 seconds more around the external piece. At Amazon, we don't just restrict it to our organization, but also believe in giving back to the society and community at large that we live in. We run multiple programs for women empowerment and upliftment that help transform lives overall. Two such programs are Amazon Saheli program. I'm sure you would have seen it on the portal, where we empower women entrepreneurs across India to come on the store. The Saheli store is a dedicated storefront on our Amazon.in to display women entrepreneurs' products and facilitate them to sell their products to thousands of Amazon customers across the country. The last one is around the Amazon Cares program. This is also around women empowerment, where we cover villages in the southern part of India. And one of the essential components for this development of a community is to ensure women of the community experience equal rights and privileges. As part of the CSR program, we normally empower women through awareness sessions, providing training, promoting women-owned businesses, strengthening women-based institutions, providing women platform to be socially and financially independent. So these are a couple of examples that I could think of around how we are contributing externally and internally.
Wow, Meera, I think that's extremely comprehensive and very well thought out. I'm sure this must have taken a journey of many years to put together so many robust programs. And I'd love also to hear from Archana, because I know from working with Goldman Sachs that there have been a lot of initiatives that GS has also been putting in place. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, Neha. So as you mentioned, right, the focus has been a long-term one, and to make sure that the program is also scalable, it has to be in the culture and the DNA of the firm's culture, right? Without which you cannot have the, cannot intentionally bring out the change that we want to see. And to a large extent, we need to, our focus has been on building a holistic ecosystem that supports our women employees to reach their max potential throughout their career life cycle, as well as throughout their life stages or the phases that they go through in their lives. And this, to a large extent, also has to be person by person. While there are policies and that we are, in line with all leading organizations that we are focused on, but there is also focus to look at person by person approach to talent management that fosters that environment where everybody feels supported, and that you also challenge the conventional thinking and remove any unconscious biases that may exist during the recruitment process, talent development process, promotion process, etc. Because no matter what's said and done, it is kind of imbibed in our society, and it needs to be challenged. We have, like I mentioned, throughout the life cycle of the employee, we have focus, especially on the leadership development program. We have a program called Women's Career Strategic Initiative, or the WCSI, which focuses on development of women so they can be promoted, or the pipeline that's ready to become vice presidents. Once you're a vice president and are demonstrating high potential, there is this program for focused on, called Empowered, that is focused on targeting this population, providing them skills, or helping them build networks, also pairing them with managing directors as mentors, so they can get those opportunities and exposure to sort of aspire to go to the next level. Because one of the things that we see is, because of the life-changing experiences that women have, from the time that they are ready to take on more responsibility at work, the family responsibilities also sort of come at the same time, and women sort of lose aspirations to go to the top. And we need to, help them sustain that aspiration and help them support through these life-changing experiences. So it's got to be a very integrated program, which has been the focus. And once women are ready to take on to the senior most positions of the firm, there are sponsorship programs. So, women vice presidents showing high potentials are provided with sponsors that are their advocates to help them get new opportunities, or get them positioned in the right and give them the right platforms to position themselves as upcoming leaders. Also, as Avantika already mentioned about the maternity program, so I won't touch upon that, but a very robust one. We have a very good, best-in-class child care center, as well as making sure maternity mentoring programs, as well as on-site resiliency programs during the maternity phase, and flexible work arrangements, as well as making sure managers are aware of their roles, so there is no unconscious bias around the time when woman is proceeding on maternity. And once she returns, I think the focus on returnship is also has been huge in terms of supporting them up to the age of, till the baby is 2 to 3 years old. The firm continues to track them and make sure that we are providing everything that is required. At the recruitment stages itself, we have the variety of programs to make sure we are targeting schools and engineering colleges and business schools to what we used to call the Women Emerging in Finance kind of a program, where in financial services there's a general perception that it's a very it's industry which is very demanding, long work hours, etc. And there needs to be an awareness of what support system is being offered by companies like us, and the engagement with the engineering students, as well as students in B schools, is very, very critical. So we have a variety of programs focused on that aspects to drive awareness and to attract women. But most importantly, once they're in the organization, how we retain and accelerate their growth has been a big focus as well. And culturally also, the workplace flexibility, I think once is a huge one. And that was also to my earlier point, person by person approach that each manager has to offer. And I think as we come back post-COVID to office, to start working from office, this is going to play a huge role. Recently, I saw a very good animated, I think it was animated message versus animated cartoon, which showed men and women all dressed to get on the track and field. The track for men was all clear, where they're all suited, booted, ready to roll and ready to start their race. While for women, they had these children online and the dishwasher and the cooking gadgets, all of that. So they have all these hurdles that they need to cross in order to get back into the race. And that's so telling of the times, of the current times. And this is going to require all organizations to start, and all managers one by one, to think about how they're going to bring back women and sustain the pace at which we have been trying to pursue and accelerate women's development in our organization.
Thank you, Archana. I think what the need of the hour is actually equity and not so much equality. And I love the idea of person by person. And if a large organization like Goldman Sachs can achieve it, then definitely all of us can. So thank you for that. Before I wrap it up with my last question, I'd love to hear from Suruchi as well, a little bit about the initiatives Marvell is doing.
Thank you, Neha. I think it's very important for the organization to look at the equal playing field along with the meritocracy. And many times when I coach or I interact with women employees, the first question that I ask is, where do you see yourself at after 5 years? And many a times women are hesitant to share their goals, hesitant to share their aspirations. And that's where the major role comes in, like, what are the unconscious biases or the limiting beliefs that you are, which pulls you back to achieving those goals. And we at Marvell are fostering those through Women at Marvell India program, where we are bringing those awareness about how to cut down your fears, how to work on your limiting beliefs, and shut down on the unconscious biases that we bring in along with us. Similarly, at the institutional mindset that we have, where just take an example in the hiring process as well. If my husband gets a job somewhere else, the city somewhere away from what I'm working right now, the most of the time women has to resign and move forward and join the husband where he's going to work and find the job, or maybe look at home that needs to be settled down. And in those cases, what the organizations are doing, and we are focusing on those areas, like how we can reduce down that kind of attrition, with how support that we can do, whether women can work from home, how we can provide that flexibility to women employees, and at the same time, how we can support the better halves to find the opportunity in the same organization or within that city. So it's not the just one-way approach, but we need to look at the holistic approach, how the society is working and how we can support them. Similarly, for many times women employees, after coming back from the break, or when they are in the path of leading in leadership positions, they barely avoid taking up those positions because of the pressure that they feel, the stress that they have from the family as well as from the organization, the peer group, and how we can support them. So at Marvell, what we are doing is, it's not just developing women, the self-development, but at the same time, how their counterpart colleagues can support them, and making them aware about those unconscious biases, how they can support the family, how they can support their counterparts in the organization and raise them the leadership positions is most important, and create that pipeline. So we encourage such awareness program at Marvell. where they learn and understand how they need to work with the women counterparts who are coming from the break or who has joined recently, and welcoming them in moving forward in their career. So those are the areas that we look after, and peer mentoring is one of the areas that we have worked very well out in last 1 year, where women from technology connect with the other women employees who are aspiring those positions, and how we can support them. So having those mentors in the organization or outside of the organization is really helpful to identify what are my goals and how we can proceed and how I can achieve those goals within the organization. So those are the programs that we are looking at. And from the hiring perspective, when it comes to hiring, to bring the diversity, we are connected with Jobs for Her to get more diverse recruitment perspectives. And at the same time, we are targeting women colleges, how we can foster the diversity from the start, from their start of career, and how that can help Marvell to bring that ratio that we want to bring in next 5 years.
Fantastic, Suruchi. I think that sounds like a lot of different efforts that the company is putting in from the entire pipeline perspective. And before we wrap this up, I would definitely love to use this opportunity of having such amazing women leaders on this panel to give one piece of advice to our women audience. And as you're aware, our women audience consists of women who are restarting their careers, women who are pursuing their careers, oftentimes in tech, and women who are rising to leadership levels. So if you could pick one piece of advice that could benefit any of these three women, we'd love to hear from you. Malini, could you go first?
Yeah, thanks, Neha. And I have taken a break from work, as I mentioned earlier, and so I would like to go for talking a few words on suggestions or tips for people who are looking at restarting their career. So not necessarily in order, but I'll summarize. So the first one is stay motivated, right? And be intentional. Be intentional that you're coming back to work. Remember, tell it to yourself every day. Maybe look at the mirror and tell it to yourself, I'm getting back to work, right? So be intentional about your career. The second part of it is, stay network. It is so important to keep your professional network alive. There are so many ways in which today you can do it, whether it's LinkedIn or for, like these events that Jobs for Her is doing, etc. I mean, keep in touch with your professional network and never let that go. I mean, that's so important. The power of networking is so important. The third thing is that do something during that break. I heard someone else talking about online courses. It could be online courses. It could be internships. You can continue reading about what is happening in your industry. So stay in touch, stay relevant. Use that time to, put something in your resume, right? I mean, it's not like I don't want to talk about the couple of years that I took break. No, do something about it. And the fourth one is have a story to tell, right? So at the end, be honest and be confident. When you get back to work, say that, yes, I took a 3-year break, 4-year break, whatever number of years of break, but here is what I did, right? So weave it into a story. The power of storytelling, so important. So that's what I would leave with people.
I hope all the women who want to restart their careers are definitely listening to this and follow that advice. Arathi, what is the one piece of advice that you would like to give?
Yeah, I think I second whatever Malini just said. Only add on to that is, I think I want all of us to embrace technology, because organizations are transforming. Organizations are doing every bit to see that women employees can join us, can be with us, and progress in their careers. And there's a lot of disruptive thinking that is getting into the picture. In Indegene, just to give an example, we are already looking at roles that can be 100% remote. I'm so happy to share that we have rolled out an offer, for one of the candidates, which says 100% remote. That means post-COVID era, doesn't matter, wherever you are, you can work. So embrace technology, get onto the information, upskilling. There are a lot of bite-sized learning, connect with people, And I think world is out there to, call us all back to work.
Great. Thank you, Arathi. Sripriya?
I'm going to basically give a point around those who want to pursue their career in tech. I have played my entire career close to technology and deep technology, right? And you might witness a very large gender gap, especially in the technology field as you get deeper. And believe me, ladies, it's actually helps develop your skill to build a career against many odds, right? It is a great learning platform, and don't miss out, right? The big part around this is please don't shy away from any opportunity, and again, build your skills to be that one person who can take on the wheels at any point in time. That is super important. And finally, be yourself. And I think we are great at what we bring.
Thank you, Sripriya. Anjali?
Yeah. So first thing I would say, know yourself, explore your career path. But 3 R's I would want them to do is redefine, return, and reclaim their positions wherever they are. So, they just have to redefine what they want to do, learn accordingly, and return back, probably from Jobs for Her, and then, reclaim their positions. So I think that's what I would want them to do.
Great. Reclaim their powers. Yes, absolutely. Sonali?
Hi, I think there are two things which I like to basically provide an advice on. One is have a board, not really in literal sense a board, but set of advisors, set of trusted colleagues, maybe a set of friends who can help you aspire, right? Who can help you challenge the status quo, who can help you think big and think beyond. I think that's the first thing. I'm blessed to have one of those. I think the other thing which I strongly feel is that break your inhibitions. There's nothing that one can't do. And I think I'm a live example of that, coming from a small city, breaking the barriers. Be bold, ask. But having said that, be truthful to your own self, right? None of us is perfect. The entire world is basically a beautiful place because of our imperfections. So that's perfectly okay to be imperfect. But then be truthful to yourself and be authentic. That's all.
Fantastic, Sonali. Yes, so know your limitations also and keep working on that to get ahead. Lovely.
Exactly.
Nandini, what do you feel?
Yeah, I just wrote a couple of lines as such. Each one of our journey is unique. We have our own strengths and areas we are weak. When we stand together, we grow. Failures will blow, accomplishments will glow. The most important is that you start dreaming. To achieve that, start striving. There are plenty of opportunities out there. Just make up your mind to reach there.
Wow. Thank you, Nandini. That was very, very inspirational. Suruchi?
Yeah, I think most of us have given the advice which is really true and really important to grow for ourselves. And what I feel is believing in yourself is the first thing that you need to start with, and be vocal about your goals, what you want to achieve and what is your passion. And that's the start.
Thank you, Suruchi. Archana?
Yeah, I'd echo what everybody else saying. Being authentic. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to copy anybody. That's a sure short way of failing. My one advice to everyone, irrespective of whether you're coming back to work or accelerating, is to invest in building your own personal resilience. Because as women, we often sort of focus only on the family aspects or on the career aspects, and these sometimes can both be very stressful, and you need to invest time for yourself that becomes a channel for you to deal with this stress. And because this is a long journey and you got to sustain all the cycles, and it can be very stressful. And the reason why we don't have women at the top is somewhere between the phases of life and career, you give up. And the only way to do that is to enable yourself by building. And for some it's fitness, for some it's painting, singing, dancing, whatever is your passion. Invest time in that, so that can be your outlet to channelize and succeed in all aspects of your life, though there is no such thing as having it all. Neha, back to you.
Thank you, Archana.
Neha?
I think we lost her, Sonali.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we can, but it's in and out. There you are.
Okay.
There you
Meera,
are.
let's hear from you. Thank you, Archana.
Did you call my name out?
Yes, I did. We have.
Cool. I'll be quick. My only message is be fearless to fail. As long as you learn from it, I can guarantee every one of us you see on this panel today would have failed multiple times and we would have moved on from there. So be willing to experiment, have a curious mindset, take those risks and keep learning, as these are going to be your collective competitive advantages.
Wow, thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today. We are going back charged up and full of a lot of new learnings. We're looking forward to seeing all of you at the HerRising event next Saturday, and this was just a teaser of the things to come. We have planned a day full of meeting different companies, their recruiters, their industry leaders, and of course, networking with one another as well, and celebrating women achievement at the awards gala. So be there, and we can't wait to partner with you to accelerate women's careers. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neha. Thanks all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you.